Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time seeing me, hi, my name is Cookie. Welcome to yet another episode of Step to Success with me. And in today's episode, we have a special guest. Our guest today is Charles Njoku, and he is a product designer, but he started from biochemistry. That's the first part.
Yeah.
What's the correlation?
Interestingly, my dad wanted me to be a doctor.
I knew doctor would enter this conversation.
That's pretty much how I got into biochemistry. I had applied to study medicine at the University of Nigeria, and for some reason I didn't make the admission list. And so it's norm that a couple of people will be sent to other biological sciences. And I was sent to biochemistry.
They never say let them send into microbiology. Biochemistry is hard.
Yeah. So that was how I got into biochemistry. The plan was for after my first year.
200 level what?
I would switch. It came to switch and it was difficult. Switching usually is always monetized so much that it's never really about merit at the end of the day. Because I had a really good first semester and second semester, first year results, probably like 4.7 or so.
That's really
so it was, I could have switched, but that didn't work out eventually. And then the plan switched to, finish biochemistry. I will send you to med school, probably outside the country. That sort of vibe. Yeah, that never happened.
So biochemistry was not something like your passion. Did you want to be a doctor? Because you said your dad wanted you to be a doctor. Did you want to be a doctor?
Let me not lie. I think all of us at that age read Gifted Hands.
Okay.
And if always felt like it was our destiny
to be Ben Carson.
That book was a psychological manipulation. In my opinion, that book was psychological manipulation because almost everybody you meet that read that book will tell you at some point they felt like they saw themselves in Ben Carson. But I think as I grew older, I became more self-aware. I started to realize how I can be. There's nothing about me that would exactly. When people say when you see good doctors, there's a lot of things about even their personality outside of their medical training.
Is it?
Yeah,
because I've seen doctors that are crazy.
Yeah, I mean obviously there are those ones where I'm like, I've met really good doctors, and it was more around their personality over their medical training. I mean, their medical training obviously helps them, but for example, if you met a doctor who is overly empathetic, who listens, you get a doctor who relies more on your experience about your body over whatever the book is saying. You get not so many doctors are like that. I've met a lot of douchebag doctors, even in myself. But that's even beyond the point.
Today's video is sponsored by Hover. As a content creator, I love upgrading my gadgets to make sure that my content is in top tier quality. However, most of these gadgets are intimidating, especially for people like me that are not really gadget savvy. But don't worry, I found something for us. Let me introduce you to the Hover camera, the most convenient flying camera to create memories with. The Hover camera has different modes: the hover mode, the zoom out mode, the follow, the orbit, and the bird's eye, which is my personal favorite. I want to point out that this camera will perform better under better conditions. On the second day of testing the camera, the weather was a lot better, and you can see the visible difference in the clips from the cloudy day and the sunny day. You can also record your audio through an external microphone or your phone. If you decide that you want to purchase the Hover camera, please click on the link in the description box below. It comes in 2 colors, so you can choose between black or white. I promise you this is a worthy investment. Alternatively, you can copy the link on the screen now. Thank you to Hover for sponsoring today's video.
Do you know, it was probably long into my adulthood as I had seen, looks like this, like a couple of things I was struggling with in adulthood. Look like it has always been there. I'm impatient for starters. I'm very forgetful. I can be playful. I am easily distracted. Do something now, my attention is gone. I struggle to pay attention or to focus. And you think, oh, that's just me being lazy or...
It's just a personality trait, maybe, yeah.
But funny enough, when ADHD started making
really?
mainstream,
I was going to tell you, did you diagnose yourself from TikTok?
Wait, when ADHD started becoming mainstream, I thought it was one of all these mainstream things where people would just put the label to it.
Yeah.
But guess what? I went to look at. I didn't actually go to look. I just randomly remembered. Since I was a kid, every single teacher who has written a report card for me would always say,
Restless.
Charles is brilliant, but plays too much. You get?
Yeah.
Charles is intelligent, but cannot pay attention, doesn't pay attention in class. You get? Charles, like all of the things that indicate hyperactiveness and intelligence with distraction. Like everybody keeps saying, that I have so much potential.
If you just calm down, streamline your thoughts.
Even as an adult, all my friends will tell you that I can be so unserious and I forget that I'm really good at my job. my friends, like, you see Charles and you almost never take him serious, but he's the most creative person I've ever met.
Yeah.
You get, or you see, it'll be like, or they'll be like, you have to actually pin that boy down to get something done. You get that. So it was when I got into an adult, I started realizing these things have always been there. And only until recently, I reached out to my GP and they did a pre-assessment. I was like, yeah, my symptoms are consistent with what's it called? ADHD. In fact, they also suspect that I am on the spectrum for autism.
Wow.
I didn't even know that.
And you've just been functioning.
Exactly. But you get what I said, obviously as a kid, when you throw tantrums and all of that, nobody's saying you're depressed. But as an adult, I started realizing I have like some depressive episodes out of nowhere. Nothing's worrying me.
I totally understand what you mean.
So when I look back at all of this, I was like, how in God's name was I ever going to be a doctor with all of this?
I feel that there's doctors that still have health history, but it would come with a lot. It would have come with a lot of pain for you. Would have really come with a lot of pain.
It would have.
Maybe substance abuse itself, because I definitely know that in medical school is something that they do to cope. Like it's nasty, the process.
Even you talking about coping mechanisms, there's absolutely no substance I'm abusing, but I also have very weird coping mechanisms. You get for different things. So, like you said, it wouldn't have been. When I look back, I was like,
doctor.
It wasn't even a choice. But yeah, well, that's by the way.
Okay. That's actually very interesting. I feel like everybody has like a form of like doctor story, or like not me. I never had any indication to become a doctor. It was just not in the cards for me. I just never felt it. And then the second best one was, will you be a nurse? I'm like, when I was younger, this was literally what I said. I was like, why do I want to be serving doctors? And so I just knew, nah. Well, anyway, that's really good. So you went to UNN. Did you live in Enugu or?
Nsukka.
You lived in Nsukka?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So you grew up, did you grow up?
No. I was born in Benue, in Makurdi.
That's not too far. Is it far?
Yeah, it's not far from Nsukka, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was born and raised in Makurdi. My family still stays in Makurdi.
Wow, okay.
Family house there. I only went to Enugu for uni. You get. So I was schooling in UNN was the first time I started like living in the East. Was
the biochemistry department in Nsukka?
Yeah, it was in Nsukka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, biological science was in Nsukka.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Because I had a friend that was doing microbiology there.
Yeah. And you know the funny thing, it's really key question you ask. I don't understand why biological science is in Nsukka and medicine is in UNEC. Yeah.
Even I think you guys' law is also in UNEC as well.
Law, yeah.
I think maybe they just felt like the important people should come to the city and then let everybody else. The church is engineering, everybody else.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So you are currently a student now.
Yeah.
You have like a part-time study. So just for the record, you're on the global talents
Research,
visa
yeah,
now,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But you're doing a program.
Exactly.
What's the reason?
So in my third year, back in UNN, I dropped out.
I'm finished.
Yeah, in my third, I just stopped going to class.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I'm not doing this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And I started focusing more on tech.
Okay.
Yeah, it was around that same time I joined online freelance platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, and all of that. And started learning different skills. Prior to that, I've always been a graphic designer. My parents own a printing press.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've
You've
always,
just always been in the...
yeah, so I've always been. I had my first computer before 10. A
tech what?
And fun fact, I typed my primary 4 first term exams. The computer teacher who was supposed to type it, she was pregnant. She was in her last trimester.
Yeah.
And it was too short a time
To
to
find somebody else.
outsource it.
Did you pass that exam?
Oh, I didn't write it.
Why?
Because I already saw the questions now.
So what did they do?
They just used my aggregate. I was already the top performer in class.
Sorry.
I came second. So they just gave me the second again. I got my first laptop in Gestry. My dad got me my first
Pretty
laptop.
early.
So I've always had computers in front of my life.
So you were computer literate very early on.
Very early. My mom was typist, and I used to always try to beat her typing speed.
What's your typing speed now?
80 words per minute. My mom types 120.
Wow, that's fast. Yeah,
Yep.
I can understand maybe if some people are watching this, it may be like, okay, like you were typing, but no, it's not the same. Because like when I was younger, I'm assuming when you were younger too, back in the day, it's not the way, like, it's not that there were no computers, it just wasn't as common as it is now for children to just hold iPads and things like
iPad.
it wasn't it wasn't at all.
No, the iPad wasn't even out at that time.
Yeah.
You get, yeah.
Oh, okay. So how did your father get doctor from that? Because I feel like you were already showing signs of,
that's the most, anybody who, interestingly, I and my dad fought for major part of my university age to about a year or two ago
for the doctor issue
before we reconciled. Yes, because everybody literally said this guy's a computer guru. Nobody's going to be surprised if he wanted to do computer engineering.
Yeah.
My dad said no. Like every African father, my dad was like, God had shown him that I'll be a doctor.
Okay.
And it was just weird. And so if you ask him how he knew, he would say that his father, that's my grandfather who I never met, used to be the village doctor.
Okay.
Without ever going to medical school. So
it's like a family trait.
Without ever going to medical school. So now he treats injuries, remove boils, sometimes do like minor.
Was it like with herbal like things as well? Okay.
Yeah. Do minor
things
surgeries.
Running in families, like it's a very surgery.
Yeah. So because my dad was like, people would come with stuff in their neck or stuff growing in their body.
Wow.
And my granddad would cut it out. And treat it and they're fine.
Wow.
Without ever being into the 4 walls of any school. My granddad does not speak English. So he felt that was something. And guess what? That amongst him and all his siblings, several of them tried to become doctors. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And the war happened. For example, my dad was born around Civil War. It's quite young. It's not that old.
Yeah.
1969-ish.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. So he was born around.
Then again, Civil War was not that far, honestly. Like, it's not as far as people try to make it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not. So, so he was born around that time. Brothers were scattered across Nigeria, and so it was very difficult ever say you wanted to get formal education that would lead up to that. So for his entire generation, the war literally took everything from them. So there was no chance, and everything he sought out to do after starting his own family was to make sure his children, all of us, had something they never had. I'm the first child.
Yeah, so he fell on you.
So
the course that you're studying now is a part-time.
Yeah. So fairly full time. It's just self-paced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's self-paced and is 75% online. I only need to go to campus for exams or an exam center.
But are you paying international tuition fees?
No, I'm paying fees as a UK resident.
Okay, because I haven't studied, he's studying data analytics, data science and business analytics, right?
Yeah.
That's in University of London.
Yeah, the University of London. What happened was, in my third year, when I decided to focus more on tech, I stopped going to class. Technically dropped out. You get, and for like a year, I spent that in tech. Back and forth with my dad. I had to go back to school after that and try to wrap up my program. Unfortunately, obviously, by leaving school a year, it meant I didn't write a couple of courses.
Yeah.
Till date, I never went back to write them. So I don't have a degree
in
biochemistry.
Do you know what? It's actually so profound because, like, how do you go from not having a degree to becoming a global talent? Because these are things that people do. When I went to university, there were a couple of guys that were in my uni that, like, it's not everybody that you get into uni with that you're going to graduate with. That makes sense. But it's like there were a lot of guys that just fell off. And like the ability to, what usually happens is it's not a downward spiral from there.
You get.
Yes.
And
really
that was my dad's biggest fear.
Mm-hmm.
But because it wasn't logical to him, because he kept asking, how are you going to get a job?
Yeah.
Who is ever going to take you seriously?
Yeah.
I told him that, don't worry, the world is changing.
Yeah.
And you see it, you get. We fiercely argued around this thing. And I could see his fear.
Mm-hmm.
All of his anger, all of this, I know it came from a place of fear.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's any, I think there was one thing I told him. I told him that the most resilient person I've ever known in my life is him. He didn't go to secondary school. Mm-hmm. You get. He had, the first time he saw the four walls of university was at my matriculation. He doesn't even know what university looks like.
Wow.
You get. But he built a business he knew nothing about from scratch. He was trained as a mechanic.
Wow, and then he
switched to a printing press.
That's foresight too. That's vision. Because printing press was like also part of industrial revolution.
Exactly.
That's
you get.
crazy.
So I was like, you did that without you get and by all count, I consider you one of the most successful at doing this. You get, even though things have now started moving away from the printing press era.
Yes, but still for his era, that was very
exactly for his era. And you did that to raise 7 children.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Every single person in my house went to school. Nobody will ever lack anything. So I told him that the only thing I'm asking is for you to trust me. It was a huge argument, but I had been exposed very early, not just to computers, but to the world. Back in school, in secondary school, for example, I was never top 10. In fact, my best position in class was 17th.
Wow, okay.
You get. But I knew I was never going to be top of the class. I knew I was never going to record some sort of successes in school, in secondary school at the time. I now had to ask myself, what successes can I record?
Yeah, what are your strengths?
What are my strengths? You see, short bursts of energy, adrenaline rush, to just focus on one thing. That's not long term. Do it now, hit it and go. Mm-hmm. I figured I had strength in that. And guess what I did? I started looking for competitions to go to. And by the end of my secondary school, I had more medals and more cash prize than the best graduating student. I went for cowbell mathematics competition.
You went for cowbell? What are you talking about?
I went for mathematics competition. I went for debating club competition. I went for the French arts and cultural competition. I went for, Olympiads. I wrote the informatics and mathematics Olympiad. As at 2 years ago, I was the only silver medalist from my state, nationally. I think someone else recently won a silver medal. But for about 4 to 5 years running, you get, at the end of the day, I recorded more successes than almost any student you pick from my school. So it wasn't a question. So, like, for example, this teacher I had at the time, and he spotted me and decided that was what. In fact, they created a club in school and called it Best of Brains. We were students who we were really good at nailing competitions. It didn't matter what our position was in class.
Oh.
You get. So he said, Chaps is smart, he's intelligent. This you can't. That one is not. It's not without contention, but it's a struggle getting him to concentrate on long term. So, for example, studying in class, you have first term, second term, third term.
Yeah.
You get. It takes a lot of
Copying notes.
writing notes. The routine of going to class, it was boring as hell. But competition, once you put me in a competitive mood, you get the best out of me. And so that was what happened, and that's how I recorded my own success. So far, that is the strength of my life. Finding ways where I have strength.
I feel like that's the very, very high level of self-awareness also from an early age, right? Like if you can say, oh, I'm not passing in class, this is what I'm not going to do next. I feel like a lot of people, if they're not passing, they just take it like, okay, I'm not passing.
They just keep trying.
I wasn't passing, that's it. Like
I didn't bother trying. I was, for example, I was a pioneer president for SAGE. I don't know if you know SAGE.
No.
Student Advancement for Global Entrepreneurship. It's a global body that tries to promote entrepreneurship from post-primary schools, post-secondary schools.
Never heard of them, but
You get. I also did that in sport. For example, I played Milo basketball. I played the all Catholic school games. I was just anything that literally just needed.
what they call it? Is it neurodivergence? That's it. But like, it makes sense.
So it was just me figuring out. I enjoyed anything I don't enjoy. I actually feel terribly at it.
Okay.
You get.
So you must enjoy what you're doing.
Exactly.
You will not survive in civil service, so.
I won't. You see how people join the company, go through organizational ladder and all of that. It can't be me. I can't do that. Sorry. You get. If I pull out my CV now, I have done some of the most high level projects anybody will have the opportunity to do in their career. But once I'm done, I move on to the next one.
You're not staying around.
You get. Exactly. For example, I have helped redesign a hospital management system that the Lagos State government is currently using. You get. I've helped design an investment management platform for household in Africa Prudential. And I could go on and on. But they are very key significant projects that don't need me to come and be saying yes to anybody. You get. I just go in there, do
what you need to do, and you call it.
So it's the reason why I've never been promoted in my life.
So when you get into a place and it's like, let's say you enter, have you ever started as an intern or you start as something? No, you just go to do the particular job and that's it.
That's it.
So like you are a born freelancer.
Exactly. A born entrepreneur, basically. But yeah.
That's actually interesting. There was something I wanted to ask you. You know all the years that you were working in printing press, like in your dad's business and everything, did you put it in your CV?
Because At the early time I was applying to go into corporate, you get far back as 2018. I did, but now it's no longer there.
Wow.
You get.
That's actually a good experience. And honestly, those are the type of things, the values that you learn there, those are the things that now lay the foundation for like every other job you're going to do, because there's always transferable skills in like when you start a job, there must always be something, even if they don't have correlation, there's a skill to transfer to the next job. Global talents.
Yeah.
Tell us. How? Why? When?
I learned about the Global Talent Visa in 2020, but I think I had read the guide. I didn't think I was qualified for it at the time. And so I didn't bother applying. You get. So I just went about doing my thing. You get. And again, there was a question, the eligibility guide. There was a question about uni. I've completely given up because I don't have a degree. You get, and at some point I started feeling sad. Maybe I could go do this degree.
No, do you know this is still the most profound thing that I've heard today?
Yeah.
That's wild.
So I was like, I should have gone to do this degree. In fact, I actually attempted contacting my student advisor. You get, and seeing how he could help me. We get going back to school to write those exams and all of that, but every time I tried, something was also always pulling me back into work, and I give up the thought. Exactly. Eventually, in late 2021, someone I know who also don't have a degree, who had attended Unilag at the time, but didn't finish, but went on start his own startup and quite doing well. Had gotten the endorsement. I was like,
Yeah, how did you do it?
how did you do it? And I began to read and read, and I went through the guide, and I realized that nothing about it focused on whatever degree you had.
Yeah.
You get. It was never about whatever degree you had. It was more or less revolving around the digital technology ecosystem, your contributions, what you've done, blah blah blah. I was like, Even as at then, I didn't think I was qualified enough. So eventually, by April of 2021, I started my own startup, Spire, and then by 2022, around about a year later, I started considering the economics of building Spire in Nigeria, and also the fact that I needed some sort of cushion to be able to continue building Spire and also be able to sort of fund the other things money needed to go to. Before starting Spire, my last job used to pay me around $3,000 a month.
So just let's hang on. I'm sorry. No, I feel before you even like take us to Spire, because I know Spire is like a software as a service, right?
Yeah.
Before you even carry us there, I want you to give me, how were you able to then build, a trail of jobs? Like, how were you living? Like, okay, so I left school. What was your first job? How did you get there? And then, walk us up to the 3,000.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, before my first job, I was already a freelancer on Upwork, for example, from far back as 2015.
For graphic design.
Yes.
So what
Graphic
platforms?
design and virtual assistant. I was in pretty much everything.
But what platforms are you using for your graphic design? Photoshop?
Photoshop, Corel Draw, Illustrator.
Yeah, you're an OG because Corel Draw.
Yeah, it was Corel Draw. But I started freelancing on Upwork in 2015. I got one of my biggest gigs in 2016. That gig lasted for 2 years.
Wow.
You get, so all the way to 2018.
So constant income at least.
Exactly. In fact, the first time I started making, before remote became a thing, I was working remotely.
Yeah, I
you get, before earning in dollar became a thing. I was already earning. I was in uni, and that was part of the time where I left.
Where you're just like, why am I wasting my time?
Exactly. Because I was making, even now when I look at it, it's small. Back then it wasn't. In a week, I was probably making up to like $600.
What are you talking about? Dollar was like 200 naira in like 2014.
Yeah.
So before 2014, it must have been like a lot lesser than that.
Yeah.
So let's just use 200 naira. Let's say it's 200 naira.
Yeah, I remember
I'm making
exchanging
600.
around
How much is your pocket?
180 and all of that. And what's it called? After my second year, I told my dad to stop paying my fees and stop sending me money.
When you're big, you're big. When you're big, you're big.
Yeah. So I told my dad to stop paying my fees.
What did he say to you?
He wasn't surprised. He said he expected me to come earlier. That I made him pay 2 years. Because he already knew I was enterprise and I was doing stuff back then. So, and I think in 2018, I also joined the first startup I ever worked at.
Okay.
It was my friend Emmanuel, Aaron. We were building drone technology.
Drone technology?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we were designing the drone and 3D printing it.
Okay, but I want to ask, wasn't there drone technology already, but were people trying to localize it for?
Exactly. We were trying to build drones that would deliver emergency health supplies in rural areas. That was the idea you get. So instead of buying drones to do it, we wanted to design our own drones. And we had a 3D machine with the support of our then VC, Professor Ozumba.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was always very supportive. We had won a couple of startup pitch competitions.
Wow.
And eventually went to Dubai, sponsored by the federal government. I didn't go anyways.
But at least you people,
co-founder
efforts
went.
followed to what took them there.
Yeah, my co-founder went, and that was the first time I met what's it called, the president, Buhari. We went to Nigeria in
He has
Abuja.
been our president. For a long time. I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So we went to Abuja. We met with the then Minister for Information and Technology. When we met with the NIDA director, there was Pantami.
How did they not even answer you? Like, you are from biochemistry, you're inside here.
No, but they were already doing tech stuff now.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then they were trying to front Nigeria as the
tech savvy nation. So people were like at the right place at the right time as well.
Exactly. So that gave us that exposure. Eventually, we got connected. But the problem is, drone licenses are not commercial in Nigeria. So already our
They are not?
Yeah, they're not. You can't fly drones commercially.
How come people? Okay, commercially, but you can fly them privately.
Yeah, probably. So, for example, if it's to capture, that's fine.
Yeah.
For example, flying a drone from Nsukka to Enugu, we can't do that. You get, and that already started dawning on us that this is probably the bottleneck of
So people need them to even do amend constitution for you.
that sort of thing. But the good thing is, we then got into like a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Defense.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it was like a knowledge transfer. The Ministry of Defense had a drone program in itself. You get, so it was more or less like a knowledge transfer between us and them. And there was an award from the then Minister for Defense and also the Chief of Defense Staff
Okay.
to us at the time. So we recorded that as success and moved on. So now everyone is currently now in the sustainable energy field.
Okay.
They're building power hubs for homes. You get power hubs that could be able to power homes in Nigeria in the absence of electricity.
So what are the power hubs from? Is it solar energy or?
No, you can charge the power hubs with pretty much anything, whether solar or what's it called?
Electricity.
Direct electricity. So the power hubs replaces, inverters are expensive generally. Maybe you and I can afford inverters, but
My helper, I cannot afford inverter.
maybe you and I can afford inverters, but my man Emeka that has 2 kids that cannot. But they can afford a hub of 160,000 that's going to last for 8 hours. It's going to power their lights, might even carry a TV we get. So it's just like a low cost solution to inverter for people who can't go all the way.
Yeah.
So or maybe she has a chemist and instead of burning fuel, it's a cheaper option to buy a hub and put, because the chemist you just need a light and people to come in and do stuff. And then for people who run small businesses, like for example charging of phones.
Okay, yeah, those power bank business.
Exactly. Electricity is such, let's not even go into
It's a basic human need.
Exactly. That
country.
you get, and it's just so crazy. Anyways, but so that's what everyone is doing now.
How did you now pivot after that one?
So when I realized that the whole drone business wouldn't take off, I told my friend Iman that I wanted to go to Lagos and I wanted to get into I've done a lot of freelance. I wanted to get into the corporate world and see what it feels like. And that was how I left for Lagos.
Without just
no job, nothing.
Just you.
I sold all my stuff in my house in Nsukka at the time. It was around 250,000.
It's big money now.
Yeah, at the time. And took my bags to Lagos. I didn't even have any place to stay. I remember my cousin's place I was supposed to stay. She later called me a couple of days before going to Lagos and said, her friends from uni are in Lagos and they're staying.
For real.
And they're staying in a house. She doesn't know how long they'll be staying and all that. I was like, okay,
no problem.
When it was time, I called my uncle, my mom, and my brother, and told him that I'm coming to Lagos. I don't have anywhere to stay. He thought I was coming to Lagos for a week or two.
To just,
a week turned into a month, turned into 2 months.
He didn't ask you what.
No, obviously, it was like, what's my plan? I was like,
I'm looking for work.
I'm looking for work. I don't come. And eventually, in March of 2019, I think I got into Lagos October 2018. In March of 2019, Softcom hired me as a creative designer.
Softcom is very known for taking chances on people.
Yeah.
If you're in Nigeria, maybe apply to Softcom because you're not the first person that was like they didn't have any experience. They did just potential, and they are doing really well now.
Yeah. So yeah, and there was a lot of talent at software during my time. We were like, all of us were just hungry to do something.
Do you know Sandra?
Yeah, I know Sandra. So,
God.
yeah, she was the engineering team. Yeah, I do know Sandra.
Mentor, they know you. I started calling her my mentor. She was also on this show as well.
Oh, okay,
And
nice.
had a really good conversation. But in any case, continue. Softcom hired you.
Yeah, Soft. What's my salary at Soft? 150,000.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it was at the time. I was in a tight fixed course. Upwork wasn't coming through like it used to.
Yeah.
By 2019, it started becoming overcrowded.
Yeah.
You get, and exactly, obviously, I needed consistent cash.
Yeah.
On the side, I was doing a couple of other small projects. You get, and eventually, by 2020, almost to my 1 year anniversary at Softcom, I got offered a UX designer role by a venture studio then in Lekki.
What's a venture studio?
So, for example, a venture studio is like an accelerator without accelerating. Let me explain.
Okay, please.
It's like an agency,
Oh, okay.
but for ideas. So they take ideas, test it, take it to market. If it's viable, they exit it as a standalone company.
So they sell it.
That sort of thing.
So who buys their ideas?
Can be VCs, it can be anybody or private equity, it can literally be anybody really.
So what did you say you were working there as?
UX designer.
UX designer.
Yeah.
Oh, so if they come up with an idea, you're the one that will give it a face and give it
That sort of thing.
You make it look come to life, basically.
Exactly. So yeah, I
Visualize it,
sort of determine the experience through the ideas you get. So that was where I went to after Softcom. It was 250k. Already over includes over Softcom. Eventually, COVID hit. Yeah, COVID hit. We went to remote. It wasn't working, and I had to leave. And I didn't do anything for 3 months.
Okay. Wow. That was
Actually, it's not that I didn't do anything. I didn't do any full-time gig for 3 months, but I was working on this web project. I just remember. It frustrated my life.
I feel like everything that was frustrating in COVID was times 2 frustrating because
Exactly.
it was COVID as well.
Exactly, it was frustrating, man. And I then eventually caught COVID. I almost died.
God. Are you joking?
I'm not kidding. So I thought it was the usual
Malaria.
But guess what?
It was COVID.
I was shaking.
Oh my God.
I was sweating like.
How did you get COVID?
I don't even know. Do you know a funny thing? I don't know if my flatmate got COVID, but he never had any symptoms.
It's possible. It's very possible.
Yeah, but my symptom, it was wild.
It must have been scary because 2020 COVID was like...
Yeah, it was scary. So I survived it. Eventually, towards the end of 2020, I got hired by a software consulting firm.
In Lagos as well?
Yeah, in Lagos as well.
Man, okay.
And...
Was that the $3,000 one?
No.
Okay.
It was 300k, just 50k.
But at least you've been going from strength to strength.
Actually, while I was in that role, someone recommended me to a job that they had asked him to take, where he was like already engaged. He wasn't going to take it, and so he said he just sent me a message on Twitter. This what's it called?
All the tech people are on Twitter.
Yeah. Tulusaba, that's his name. He just said, he was like, you, there's this role. I don't know if you're interested, but check it out. You get, apparently I did check it out. I was like, yeah, seems interesting. And then I applied. Then the VP of product said he saw my application and thought to reach out. I was really impressed with my journey and wanted to speak more.
So what do you put as your journey? Like, how do you tell your story? How do you sell it? You're like, okay, biochemist turned, or you don't even put biochemistry.
I barely ever talk about biochemistry.
So you didn't, when people are submitting CV, did you put education or?
Yeah, I used to put university biochemistry 2014 to 2018. Okay. You get, but I never told my story from that point.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
So they didn't ask you for proof?
No.
Because they didn't need it, to be honest. That's your skill.
So that was the job that actually paid me around $3,000 a month. From 300,000 naira to $3,000. So the
How?
equivalent of that at the time was around 2 point something million.
But was that not a promotion in itself? Because if you started with, I know it was not the same role, right? But like, think about it. Like,
No. So I mean, obviously, growth has
Yeah,
always happened in my
growth, yeah.
life. I'm not saying I've
In a
never
particular
worked
company long enough to get
to
promotion.
get promoted
Yeah.
and say, oh, I know I climbed the ladder, the organizational,
ladder,
the
yeah.
corporate ladder. No, I've never ever done that.
so they paid you. So as you were getting 2 point something M in one, how did you feel? The first time that paycheck entered you, like,
I was you know a funny thing. I remember the final interview where we were talking about money. I was in my friend's house, Aluko Brown, and I was going to ask for 750,000 naira.
are they an international company or a Nigerian
Yes,
company?
they are
Okay,
international company.
right,
Yeah,
We're going to
they're
ask for 750.
headquartered in Mauritius, but
Okay.
mostly work out of Kenya. I was going to ask for 750,000 naira.
Yeah.
You get, but somehow the guy was like, you know what? Ask them for their budget instead.
That's the fantastic idea in salary negotiation.
Yeah,
It's
ask
always
them,
like,
ask them what's the budget for this role.
Yeah.
You get. And I asked, and
The guy-
as God might have it, the guy was transparent. He was like, to be honest, this role is starting around what's it called, $30,000 to $45,000 a year.
So you did the mathematics real quick.
I was like, hold on, what?
You said it to him.
No, I
but
didn't.
yeah, you just act like as
Because
you have seen this.
we are in a house together with
Yeah.
Aluko. Mind you, I was almost homeless. The reason I was in Aluko's house, I forgot. I was at Aluko's house. Can't even remember what happened to the house I was staying before. But I know I had.
Quarter to homeless.
I was in Aluko's house.
Yeah.
On that day. So I told
They now
him.
say, how much do you want?
No. So I also then. Oh, that seems like a very fair budget. Send me an offer. Let me see what it is and take it up from there. He was like, okay, that's very good. When the offer came, the offer me 35,000. When the offer came, the offer me $35,000, and I was like,
I can't understand. How did you feel?
it was no, I can't really. If I think about
That type of validation, there's something you
I
felt
cried.
for. Yeah, no, 100%. Because now I can comprehend 35K like dollars, like USD, because I live in England, right? Like, and I can understand it. When I was living in Nigeria, when I was in uni,
But then,
20,000
I don't
was
think-
a big deal.
I don't think in a year or in 5, maybe in 2-3 years of my dad's business, he made $35,000.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's what?
You get
It's big money, especially for a young person as well. You don't have are you married? I was about to say, you don't have responsibilities, like you don't have kids, you don't have. That's big. That's crazy money, especially from somebody that started from where you started from as well.
Exactly.
What the hell? Wow.
It was crazy. I could remember I felt that day. I was so excited. I was telling all my friends. I was
That
so.
kind of thing. They will start begging you money.
Funny enough, most didn't. Funny enough, most didn't.
Yeah.
I think I also, I mean, for the record, like to say I've had great luck with friends.
With friendships,
actually.
yeah,
friendships,
that's
actually.
good. Do you see, people see, that's I'm an Igbo girl. See, the first thing that came to my mind, when you do that, when you announce it like that. But I get
Yeah,
Igbo.
but yeah, and it was crazy. I remember how ecstatic I felt. You get,
I can't imagine.
when the first check landed, I called all my, I don't want to say all my guys, for
I'm going
one of them watched this and said, guy, you don't call
Don't
me.
call me. You
But I
can't
think-
ball.
but I think I called a couple of people, and I mean, we went out, did the call things, and I was really, really grateful to all of the people that helped me got there, and I kept doing my job. Then there was the opportunity to, move to Lekki, get a house, all these
A
things.
big boy. Lekki is like an upscale part of Lagos, Nigeria. Like it's on the island.
Yeah.
There's island and mainland. Like you guys know. Google it.
I don't know what happened. I think I had completely gone like frustrated with being in Lagos and the craziness of it all. And I did the most insane. Everybody thought it was insane. I moved back to Enugu. My job was
I don't
remote.
think it's insane, honestly.
Yeah.
I like the slow pace of Enugu. Did you move back to Nsukka or did you
No,
move to
Enugu.
Enugu?
So
Yeah,
funny enough,
I really like how slow
I
paced
actually
Enugu
did
is.
go back to Nsukka. The plan was to, since my job was remote, do the remote job and find a way to wrap up that degree.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a smart. That was a smart.
That was the
plan.
plan, but I eventually moved to Enugu. Well, it was difficult
It wasn't
having to work
working, yeah.
in. So I eventually moved to Enugu, got this really nice apartment in Transekulu. You get a 3-bedroom flat and
I vexed too.
what's it called? Furnished it and did all of that. You have the apartment till date.
So what do you rent it out?
No, my friend stays there. I just what's it called? My family anytime they're Enugu, they go
They
there.
go there. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So I mean the expense for it is inexpensive to me generally.
Yeah.
Compared to paying 4.1 million in Lagos,
Lagos rent
I was
is
paying
crazy.
less than 500k.
I know that then we pay like 300k, 200k.
If you get
Per
so
annum.
did all of that, stayed in Enugu, and I moved from that to seeing how maybe it was time to start my own business,
Oh, okay.
and that was how I started Aspire.
Okay.
Yeah, so first of all, I was thinking maybe it was time to start my own, and I was thinking of starting an agency.
Okay.
But we're just having a conversation with a couple of friends, and we're discussing about a problem back then with product design. It was centered around feedback, being able to track it, learn from it, use it to improve a product and all that. I was like, that's an interesting idea. There's nobody doing that in Nigeria or Africa, and most of the products abroad are either too expensive or not suited for our unique peculiarities. And that was when Spire was born.
Okay. So for Spire now, who is your ideal client or your ideal customer?
Product teams.
Product teams for
To be honest, product teams, but the way I see it and the way we define Spire is for anyone essentially who wants to continuously improve the experience of their product for their customers. Whatever, I don't care what your title or what your answer, but if for any reason, if you find yourself wanting to find ways to improve the experience of your customers when they use your product, then Spire is for you. And what we are doing essentially is building software that is going to help you do that. Whether you want to speak to your customers, whether you want to collect feedback, whether you want to learn from that feedback and all of that. Yeah, that's what Spire does really.
okay.
So the big vision for me is that why companies and why people will spend time building product, they will need us to improve experience.
That's interesting. So from Spire, global talents.
Yeah, so I mean, eventually, like I said, I left my last job to get into focus full time on Spire, and I did Spire for over a year plus. It was getting to 2 years.
Was it as lucrative as your previous
No,
one? Was
it wasn't.
startup?
No, it wasn't. It was. I was lucky to have saved up from my
a good amount, a good buffer.
Yeah, a good buffer, and Spire wasn't even paying me up 20% of my.
It makes sense because it's a startup.
Exactly. And I had raised a substantial amount of money from my friends.
Okay.
About $100,000.
I'm sorry, wait, let's backtrack. So is it like, when you start a new company and then, raising fund, the first stage of funding. So it was your friends that were the first stage funders.
Yeah.
And it was 100k.
Yeah, it was around 100k also.
Hey friends. Hello. I'm just greeting you.
So it was around $100,000, and I didn't just feel like they could commit that amount of money and me having to do part time.
Yeah, you're still
doing part-time. I just left my job. I just resigned. You get.
They have just recommended me. What's designer?
Yeah.
I've learned it.
Well, I just resigned and then to focus on Spire full time, and I did that for a year plus, or almost 2 years. And
how was that? Did it work out? Was it?
It was. So this is a moment of truth. But when you have this idea in your head and you feel like everything was going to go bam, 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 it wasn't. I saw hell. And hell saw me. Yeah.
I don't know if you have seen this meme where Lasisi is like, on Saturday, poverty starts me down.
So I see, like it really sat me down. What's it called? From realizing that even the simplest things we use every day in our jobs take a great deal of engineering to do, and realizing, and this was where even my own feelings started to show. For example, I don't think I'm the greatest of managers. You
Or
get,
admin tasks as well.
I don't think I'm the greatest of managers. I am very great at being creative or putting out ideas and doing, but I wouldn't say I'm the greatest of managers. I think it's one thing.
Manager, do you mean like people manager, project manager?
People manager.
Okay.
You get managing people to.
It's difficult to manage people. It's a difficult task.
Yeah. I sold lofty dreams. Even on Twitter, then I was trending. You get.
Lofty dreams.
You get me? But those dreams are still lofty.
Yeah.
I just have realized it takes more than having those ideas in my head to bring it to life. It takes painstaking work. We did make revenue. And for example, I was telling somebody that one reason why I'm still committed to doing Spire is because before all of this, we had some of the validations we need. For example, we haven't done any marketing in a while, but for some reason, people still find a way to reach us and ask us, hey, I want to do this. You guys still do it.
Okay.
So that organic pipeline
Very
is
good
still there.
validation.
As our last week, we just finished the project. You get, so Spire is still making money. Well, obviously not enough money to blow things out of the water.
Yeah.
You get, so just knowing that I think is one of the very key validation I needed to know that, you know what, we can come back to this from the ground up again. But before I come to that story, anyways, we built a couple of tools. For example, currently, if you wanted to collect feedback on your website or product from your customers, you can go. We built a tool, we call it Feedjet. It's a feedback tool that you can embed on your website. The unique thing about it, outside a lot of other tools, is your customers can be able to take screenshots or screen recording of the issues they encounter in your product and send to you. You know that thing where you call customer care, I'm having difficulty using so
Yeah.
the customer care explain what happened, what did you click.
You can just screen.
You don't have to do any of that.
That's really useful.
Exactly. So we have that now. It's currently working. We have about 300 or something users using it.
Wow.
You get, and that's working. We also do user research services. We recruit research participants for people who want to do user research. Sometimes we go and do the user research ourselves for them. So that's pretty much what it currently does. But like I said, we're currently going through a very deep build process, slightly in stealth. No brag or shout about it until it's ready.
It's ready, yeah.
Exactly, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, so eventually, when we went through that process of going through the finance, I decided. First of all, we've gone through our own way. I've gone through my own personal finance.
God.
My mom got diagnosed with a heart disease.
Oh my God.
And in fact, that was the signal I knew I needed to get a job, because I didn't even have money for myself. And I imagine going to hear things like, oh, she's going to be on diuretic drugs for a very long time, and if that, we have to hope he improves. If it doesn't improve, there's a point he will need a pacemaker surgery.
Oh my God.
We get all of that, all of those things. So I started preparing my mind for all of this, and I told myself, oh, I need to get a job. And when I tried getting a job in Nigeria, I even tweeted recently about it. I got 4 offers. None of them was up to $1 million.
Of course, no. Of course. Of course.
None of them was, and the number of things they were hoping I would come and do.
You somersault, backflip.
You get,
Everything.
and so I just said, nah, this can't work. And that was when I visited the Global Talent thing again. And this time around,
You had the experience.
yeah, I decided to apply. Funny enough, I actually applied for, I don't know if you know how it's structured, but I actually applied for exceptional promise.
What does that mean?
So global talent is divided into two categories. It's called exceptional promise and exceptional talent.
Okay.
The core difference is
With promise, it's like you've not done it, but there's a promise for you.
there's a potential. Exactly.
It's like that's my own. You people should think it. No, yourself.
Yeah.
Think it. Okay.
Then the talent is for people who have shown leadership,
Okay.
who have been proven to be leaders.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had reached the talent. I was skeptical. I I'm like, yeah, I have record of doing stuff, but I haven't exactly really led anything led in the sense like become a VP of something, achieve this in that. So that my organizational inability made me feel like
You cannot.
you get. So I applied for promise.
Yeah.
And when my endorsement came, they endorsed me for talent instead.
Wow. Okay. Wait, they choose the people that will endorse you, or you choose your endorsers?
No, you don't choose your endorsers. Your people who access your application decide what you
which
fit.
one? Oh, okay.
Like you can choose what you want to apply on that, whatever
And
you
then
want to apply,
the people that
and
endorse
then
you choose
they can
what they
decide
feel.
whether you do not fit any of the criteria or whether you fit one more than the other.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
get, and I think when I signed my application and I pretty much just spoke about my story from my first startup experience from uni, UNN, the drone startup, all the way to Spire. That's pretty much the entirety of my application was, and then all of the things I did in between. Mentoring a couple of people, speaking at a couple of prominent tech events and all that stuff. And when actually when my endorsement came, they gave me talent, and I was like, if I don't rate myself, people rate me. You get, it was
Another good validation.
yeah, it was really a good validation. It just made sense. And so then that was when I just decided that, you know what, go to the UK, try to get a good enough job, and I just told myself that 2023 was for me to fix money. Fix money in the sense that do everything I can to make sure I don't have to ever be in a situation where I need to rely on somebody. I was already in debt at this point in time. My debt was running up to 20-something thousand pounds, the equivalent you get. So the idea was to fix debt, get back on the road, find my motivation again, start to work on Spire from the ground up again.
Oh my God. No, because I just usually at this point I would have flipped multiple pages. Like I'm on page 1. I just flipped page 1. Like, oh my God, like I don't have a word for it, because do you know the type of self-awareness and like belief system? Me, I used to think that, oh, you know what, if there's something I can bet on myself. But like now seeing somebody that actually, what the hell?
The biggest validation ever that actually did it was my dad. After I traveled to the UK,
Yeah.
one morning he just texted me. He said, "Good morning, my great son." And it was, I didn't deep it. I just like, "Good morning, Daddy." In my head, I'm like, waiting someone to stop me.
Yeah.
Anyways, he went on to pray for me. He was like, "I want you to know that you are my favorite child." And
If your siblings are watching it, they will it now.
my dad knows. He was like, "And anywhere you go, you're favored." And he prayed for me, and I took a minute to cry. Proper
Of course,
cry.
that sort of thing is it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy, especially knowing where you are coming from.
Exactly, and considering that prior to him sending that, I was feeling disappointed, like I had failed at something. Because you know that nobody ever starts a startup or a business to fail. You get, everybody starts to succeed. But we always you always hear things like 99% of startups fail.
Yeah.
But for some reason,
my 1%.
You think you're the part of the 1%.
I'm the special one.
The 1% that will succeed.
Oh my God! Like I saw something Not too recently, but it's something I've been seeing it a lot. Well, I used to read a lot of self-help and like listen to a lot of like all these business podcasts, economics and stuff like that, right? And basically she was like that a dream is a dream. Like it has never been done. It is your dream. So stop expecting that, there's something to follow. Like this thing has never been created before. And it just resonated with me now, especially with like your journey and how like who has ever moved from non-biochemistry finisher. Also, you did really well in the first year as well. It's not as if you fluked your first year. The year you actually did well, right? Who has ever gone from, and it to be honest, it sounds like a pipe dream. Like if you tell somebody, oh, I'm just like, I'm going to not finish and then I'll come to UK and they will endorse you as what?
I remember my classroom was always like, Charles is something else.
Do you understand?
Like if there was anybody,
and they'll be feeling like they got degree. I'm sure that.
So funny enough, I think finishing and getting a degree is actually a hard thing.
It is. No, I know.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. So I never even tried it, but usually, someone will text me like, we laughed a lot back then.
That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of them will feel better. That's just a superiority complex. I'm not saying that finishing a degree is easy. Believe me, I finished 2, and honestly, I'm not going back. But I'm just saying that there's a thing of like when people are unconventional, when it's not the convention that you're
exactly. So very few people gave me a chance in the sense that this boy is going to come out at the end of this tunnel. Everybody was like, well, it's his life, whatever. When you see, he will take you. And some would laugh, some laughed at me.
Of course, now.
And some thought I was crazy.
Who is laughing now? Come on.
Yeah, and some thought I was crazy, but I think I've grown so much from that experience to know that being unconventional, I will never forget my friend, Dr. Tulu. I remember one of my days of ranting and talking about how scared I was and how very, tiring and disappointed I was. And Tulu told me, was like, Charles, every time I look at you, I always ask myself, what manner of man is this guy? But if there's anything I've learned your journey, it's like it's not conventional first. Secondly, it being hard doesn't mean you won't do it.
100%.
I mean, you can rant and do about it, but if you want to do, you do it. And then finally, the word of advice was like, there are people who have told this unconventional path like yourself, and they have lived the happiest life.
100%.
Never you think that your sadness is going to come from your choice of being unconventional. Your sadness and your regret is going to come from you not doing it. You get? So it's like, there's consequences for everything, but just make sure that consequence is not regret.
Regret is even a wasted emotion, to be honest. So how can someone get into product design?
You actually can start by joining a boot camp. There are a lot of boot camps these days. And it also depends on where you are. In Nigeria, there are, what's it called? Boot camp from communities like Tiva, Trefford. My favorite is Spexels. It's my favorite because I also support them and once in a while I mentor there. I've had some of the best students come out from there as well.
What is one piece of advice that has held you through like really difficult times?
It would be that the difference between where you are and where you want to be is time.
Deep what?
It's a paraphrase from my dad, actually. The actual quote from my dad is, the difference between having money and not having money is time. Everything you are doing in between those two worlds, you get, is either shortening that time or elongating the time. So it's up to you. You get.
That's actually a very good quote. The difference. I've heard a version of it before, but it's just sometimes it gets really difficult to even believe it. It's like, okay, time, but okay, how will I know that I'm doing the correct thing or the wrong thing? Like, you just never know.
Yeah. So, and to that point, I would say never. The one thing I do and the one thing I even tell my bosses, like, I don't have positive or negative feedback.
Okay.
I just have feedback. That's the way I see feedback. You get to never feel like anything you're saying to me is too negative to say or too positive to say. Just say it. Why? Because the feedback exists because there's something that's prompting that feedback. So what I do is listen to it, learn from it, try to understand it, and at the end of the day, it's not all feedback you should take. Honestly, some are just okay. I've heard you say it. Let's
Thank
go
you.
on, and then that ties back to believing in yourself and your own intent. Sometimes the feedbacks you get, you start asking yourself, but that's not what I meant to do. You get bored. Then that is the point where you have to rely on your own self.
What year did you arrive in the UK?
Oh, I think last year, August last year.
Okay. What would you tell yourself that just arrived this country in August? Like you now, if you go back to the airport and meet yourself, what's something that you're going to tell yourself?
Don't panic. Don't get overwhelmed. Everything's going to work out. Be more patient with yourself. Please do not try to spend too much. You will need all the money you can. Do not rush into making hasty decisions. For example, I can remember one of the biggest challenges I had was getting a house.
Accommodation.
I paid at least 4 housing deposit. The lucky thing is I got them refunded. They are refundable, so
God.
I got it refunded eventually. But in the haste of trying to get a place, you pay housing deposit, landlords are delaying, referencing coming back. Like the reference comes back, it doesn't work out. There's something to be done. All of that, all of that could put pressure and panic on you.
Yeah.
Rely on people that are your friends who are already here.
Yeah.
Trust that they're trying to help you as well.
Do you think that there was anything in particular that made you get this visa that you're on, this global talent? Do you think there was something in particular that made you get this visa?
I would say that I used to be a really big contributor to the community back in Nigeria.
Okay.
And that wasn't a case of doing it for the accolades. It's also doing it because that's how I came into prominence. Working together with people to build stuff, even if it's for fun.
Okay.
But as the time progressed, also giving back to the community. Obviously, I think my startup was a big contributing factor as well. Long before I ever thought about applying to Biochemistry, for example, I was already doing a bit of, what's it called, community engagement and mentorship. I don't know if you know Hot Prize.
Halt price. No.
The Hot Prize is a global event, and as far back as 2017, when I was in uni, I was a mentor for the competition in my uni. I didn't know that would count to something I would have to use for, because I applied when I was applying for my endorsement. It was part of the stuff I added to it. So you get some of all of these things, writing about work, not in the sense of telling story, but technical writing, sort of giving insight into my design process and all these things you get, basically.
Okay. Would you say that it was luck or strategy that helped you get where you are now?
A bit of both.
Okay.
A bit of both, because I'll be too prideful to say it wasn't. A bit of both in the sense that I work really hard. I will first of all give myself that. I work really hard. But I've also seen people who I would say work harder than I am,
But
don't exactly. And similarly, I've seen people who I don't think work as much as I do and get
also get
better results. You get so it's you can't. Don't I would always tell people, don't kill yourself with comparisons. You get do the job, take on opportunities. Yeah, that's the big one. And I think that's the thing about luck. That is that when opportunities show up, you are somewhat prepared to take it.
Yes.
So that's been the highlight of my career and my journey, really. Every single time I moved from somewhere, it was because an opportunity presented itself.
And you were ready.
And I was ready.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, if you saw this video in 2017, would it have helped you?
Yeah, it will. It certainly will. Half the time, when I meet a lot of people, all they want to see is themselves in someone who has achieved
Yeah.
something.
I think so as well.
Yeah, so it definitely will. Just knowing that you're not alone and someone has walked that road before.
Because like sometimes I feel like it's so scary when it's like nobody has ever done this thing.
Exactly.
Like it's, even if it's not exactly your journey, but like something that looks like it.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty much just the resilience of people that gets you through.
True, that's true. Well, I've come to the end, but I'm going to ask you a random question, then I'll ask you if you have any questions for me. But for this random question, it's not career related, it's not anything related, it's just a random question. If you had unlimited free time, how would you spend it?
Because I'm a workaholic, I'll go and find work to give myself.
Unlimited free time, like your time can never, you know how like all of us are in the matrix, we're constricted 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like
Honestly, I'll probably have a feud with dogs.
what?
Yeah, I like dogs. And
Okay.
I used to have one back in Nigeria, Stefan.
I like dogs as well, but do you like big dogs or something?
Yeah, my dog is German Shepherd.
Jesus.
Yeah, so a Rottweiler or a Labrador or something. Yeah.
That's very interesting. That's actually very interesting.
So, but yeah, usually spend my time more in the countryside.
What do you mean countryside? Like the village in Nigeria or abroad country?
Countryside, like in the UK, for example.
Because we also have countryside.
No, but I actually wouldn't mind spending time retiring in the countryside in the village. I'm honest.
For real.
I'm honest.
Nepa.
We'll fix it.
Okay. Okay.
We'll
Okay, that's
fix it.
interesting.
But yeah, but actually more or less spend time in nature and outside of devices, honestly, because I've spent all my life
On device.
on devices. So if I want to retire something, it's away from all
From
of
devices. That absolutely makes sense. Do you have any questions for me?
it. So unfortunately, I don't.
Very good. Okay, that's fine. Lastly, do you want to be found, and if you want to be found, where can like my audience find you?
Oh, I'm always making noise on Twitter. At Made by Charles. Made by Charles is my handle. That's mostly where you find me. If you want to check out work stuff, on my website, charlesnjoku.com.
Okay.
Yeah, you find everything serious there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it here for you guys in case you want to like find Charles. So yeah, we've come to the end of this video. I want to remind you again that if you have anybody that you want to see on this show or you want me to interview next, then please suggest them in the comments below. You don't know, they may be my next guest. So, yeah, don't sleep on it. Then yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.
Bye.